Hello everyone, this is Robert, and in this video I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be testing drill bits. You see, for quite a while I've been wanting a really nice set of metric drill bits. I have a host of other drill bits in all other sizes, but I really don't have a good metric set, and it's oddly hard to find a really high quality set of metric drill bits here in America. So I got an email from Drill America, and they actually reached out to me and sent me this kit of metric drill bits. And I'll get into that whole sponsorship thing later, but I figured I'd do a little bit of a test, kind of in the style of Project Farm. If you haven't heard of him, it's a really great channel, just to kind of get an idea of how good these drill bits are compared to some of the others that I have. So I've gathered up, I think, 6 other drill bits, and I'm gonna kind of do a head-to-head shootout with the old drill press, and we're gonna see how that works out. So let's go take a look at the bits, take a look at the setup, and do some testing. So here is the drill bit set in question. This is the Drill America 1mm to 13mm set, and it is in 0.5 millimeter increments, so you can see all of the lovely drill bits inside. Kind of one of the nice things about this is it does come with an official OOPSIE case, which the case is just like a little bit nicer than the standard cases you get with drill bits. If you haven't ever bought one of these in the metal tins, most of them come with a metal tin like this. The other thing to note is these are actually cobalt drill bits. I did specifically request that they give me cobalt, since I do a lot of drilling in AR400, AR500, and steels, and I like having an extra hard drill bit. So there you go. The titanium nitride, the TIN coated, just don't always seem to last as long when doing the really hard metals. So let's talk about sponsorship a little bit. These were provided free of charge from Drill America. They're not paying me anything additional for making this video. And in fact, here is the note that they sent me, and I'm not going to read this whole thing, but usually when someone approaches me about some kind of sponsorship, I always ask 2 questions. I ask, how are you familiar with me? And of your 2 favorite videos, what do you like most about them? Most people just kind of nope out and they never respond. I actually get a handwritten letter from them saying, since being introduced to your YouTube channel, we've had a lot of fun learning things about custom-made BattleBot wheels, gaining valuable tips from your Q&As, unique approach to CNC robotics. Even if all of this is an absolute lie, it's still really sweet and really nice. So the fact that they took the time to write a handwritten letter that explains very specific details about my channel, I appreciate that. This is the reason I'm doing this video, because it really shows that there's a person behind this company and they care. Nowhere in this letter does it say that I have to do a video or it has to be a certain way, so this is just kind of full disclosure. So all of that being said, let's get on to the testing. So I'll level with you. This channel is not Project Farm. I did not go out to Home Depot, Lowe's, Ace Hardware, and Amazon and Harbor Freight and go out and buy a bunch of different drill bit sets. I just went out and found everything in my shop that was approximately the same size. Turns out 8mm is very similar in size to a 5/16, which is also very similar to a number N. So an N, 5/16, and 8mm is basically what I'm testing here, and these are all the drill bits in my shop that were the most new condition, that were all about that same size. So if I had the 5/16 that was really worn, I substituted for the number or letter N instead. So we've got 7 drill bits here. This one's an outlier, and I'll kind of talk about that. So over here we have the Drill America. This is a cobalt. I have a DeWalt, which is also a cobalt. I have a small cobalt set from them. And then I have this guy, which is a Harbor Freight. So this is their typical high-speed steel with the TIN coating. This right here is my kind of go-to drill bit. This is a YG1, which is what Tormach and some others sell. I get these off of Amazon as well. This is a Korean drill bit, and these are quite nice. This is my go-to, and this is the set that I use the most. These 2, I have no idea what they are. I found these in just one of my bins, and both of these appear to be a high-speed steel with a TIN coating, the titanium nitride. And then this one I included because it is simply one of these black oxide. They're typically not as sharp, but they're very, very durable and very hard. So I include this even though it's a bit of a different size, so take that into account when doing the test. So let's go look at the test setup. So here is my setup. I'm actually using a thinner block of aluminum just because this handle couldn't reach all the way down. It took too many turns. So I'm doing a 1/2 inch block of 6061, 1000 RPM. I'm going to start out with the Harbor Freight and just kind of move through the drill bits. I'll put at the bottom of the screen which one is currently running. And I have a timer which I will start once the drill actually engages, and I'll be using cutting fluid on each drill bit. So let's get started and see what happens. So 33 seconds for the Harbor Freight. Mystery drill bit number 1. "25 seconds for mystery number 1. And we're right at 70 degrees. I didn't do the first temperature on camera, I forgot about that, but it was about 65 degrees. So this one's just a little bit warmer, but it's barely even warm to the touch. Mystery drill bit number 2. So 14 seconds for mystery bit number 2. 71 degrees. DeWalt cobalt drill bit. I stopped this a little bit too late. It was 23 seconds, and we are 69 degrees. YG1. YG1 at 16 seconds. About 71 degrees. What's really interesting is this one produced a lot more chips than the others. The others were very stringy. This one had a lot more chips. Interesting. Drill America cobalt. "16 seconds for the Drill America. Yeah, about 70, 71 degrees. So let's just call it 71. Unknown black oxide. This is a larger diameter, so we'll see if it takes that much longer, but I'm just kind of putting this in there because I had it on hand. "50 seconds for the black oxide. Probably the wrong speeds and feeds for this. It probably needed a lot more downforce and a lot more, or a lot less RPM. So a little bit unfair. And this one's the only one that heated up. This is 82 degrees. Even though this is a completely unnamed bit, I feel like I need to give it a fair shake. So I'm going to decrease the speed down to 800 RPM, and I'm going to add just a little bit more downforce just to see if we can get this to operate properly, because that was just the wrong feeds and speeds. So let's try this again. So 35 seconds for the black oxide with significant more downforce and a little bit slower RPM. So just kind of goes to show proper feeds and speeds are critical. 73 degrees. So I'm actually having a lot of fun with this. It's kind of interesting testing tools like this, and I've always kind of appreciated videos like this that I've seen on YouTube, so it's kind of interesting to run your own test. And this is my Friday night, everyone. So of course, the mystery drill bit that I literally pulled out of the back of one of my tool bins, I was just kind of looking around for various bits to try and, you know, find a set that would work for this test. I don't know where this thing came from. I have no idea where I got it. I think I might have inherited it from someone. It was just kind of stuck in the back of my tool bin, and of course it runs away with the lead at 14 seconds. We have the YG1 and the Drill America, both not terribly surprising at 16 seconds. Both of those drill bits, kind of as soon as you engage them into the metal, they just kind of instantly start chipping it, and they feel like if you added twice the downforce, they would just go right through. The black oxide, even after I did it after the second test, it wasn't as sharp as the other ones. It felt like you'd really have to press down, and it doesn't grab in as well as the others, so that's interesting. Regarding the DeWalt, I thought that was kind of surprising because in this test it is kind of the third best or the second best, maybe, if you're kind of tying the YG1 and the Drill America. I think the downside to that is it kind of has this weird split point design, so it kind of has like a pseudo brad point on the top, and it just doesn't seem to have the same bite. It kind of starts out nice and then, you know, kind of slows down over time, maybe the chip evacuation, something like that. But that was kind of interesting, and not surprisingly, the standard low-end TIN coated Harbor Freight is in dead last place. They're not very sharp drill bits, and they really don't hold an edge well, so not surprisingly. But in all fairness, some of these other drill bit sets are about $100 for like the full fractional set. The Harbor Freight for the lettered, the numbered, and the fractional is like 60, 70 bucks, I think, is what I paid for it. So you're getting a lot of drill bits for not much money. So, you know, to be fair, it's not all that surprising. But what I'm going to do for the next test is now we're going to move on and test all of these same drill bits in the same process into S7, which is a pretty difficult material to get into. It's very hard, it's an impact resistant tool steel. So I think what we need to do is add more downforce. I'm going to play around a little bit with some of the feeds. It's actually surprising to have just the downforce, you know, automatic. Like if you feel the drill press, you can do a lot better. So this is not indicative of my machining capabilities. It's just really hard to have the machine kind of run automatically. A drill press just isn't made to run like that. So I'm gonna add a little bit more downforce to my bar setup and turn down the speed, of course, for steel, kind of get that dialed in a little bit, and then we'll repeat the second test with S7 and see how that goes. So here is the S7 tool steel. It's about 1/4 inch. We're going to start out with the Harbor Freight bit again. I've reduced the RPM to 500, and I've added more weight on the end of the lever arm for additional downforce. The Harbor Freight did a pretty decent job at 20 seconds. 102 degrees. Mystery drill bit number 1. Mystery drill bit number 1 is 7 seconds. 90 degrees. Mystery drill bit number 2. Mystery drill bit number 2 at 10 seconds, and it generated a lot of heat in those chips. They're very warm and there's a lot of discoloring. 97 degrees. DeWalt Cobalt. The DeWalt finished in 12 seconds. Wow, 108 for the DeWalt. YG1. Seven seconds for the YG1. Huh. 86 degrees. Not bad. Drill America Cobalt. I'm going to do this test over. That was going very quickly and my weight ended up falling off. So I'm going to reposition this and do this again. Drill America, test 2. Eight seconds. 81 degrees. Black oxide. Ooh. Black oxide gets disqualified for hurting me. Thankfully I'm okay. This is all that happened, just a little bit of a cut on the tip of my finger. My finger really wasn't as close as what it looked like. It was actually off the table a little bit, so when it whipped around it just barely caught me, and that might have actually even been the timer that hit me. But in any event, this is a good example of what a dull drill bit does when it goes into tool steel and ends up work hardening it, and it just gets harder and harder to cut, and then it's just going to grab right there at the end. And of course, I got to admit this is the example of bad work holding. I really shouldn't have had just that clamp on the table. I should have been using a drill press vise. So that's my bad. I almost always use it, and I just should have been using it with steel. With aluminum, you know, sometimes I go either way, but definitely for tool steel, I should have been using a vise. So lesson learned. So one thing to talk about after that test, some of these drill bits actually suffered a little bit of damage. The Harbor Freight actually came out okay. There's really nothing wrong with the tip, nothing like that. Mystery drill bit number 1 also looks okay, no real problems with that. Drill bit 2, which was the favorite in round 1, right? This did awesome. It's got some pretty significant chipping at the tip. It really didn't like that tool steel. So maybe this is sharper, but just not as hard or durable. But yeah, it definitely has some major chipping. The DeWalt. This is supposedly a cobalt drill bit, and I'm not sure if this is really going to show up well with this lens, but the tip is just jacked. The tip is, and I effectively ruined this drill bit, unfortunately, but yeah, if you look at the tip, it is just scorched in a little bit of places, and that little brad point tip is definitely compromised. So this one did not do well at all, and there was a point where you heard like a chunk. And yeah, it's one of these pieces just kind of cracked off. The YG1 did really nice. No really apparent wear whatsoever on this one. And the Drill America, same thing. No apparent wear, and both of these are just like razor sharp. It's actually surprising how sharp they are. So yeah. So I think this video is a good example that experience is not a proper substitute for good safety practices. I have a drill press vise right down there. I should have used it. That should have been the way that I was drilling it. That's how I always drill it, but sometimes in the making of videos and kind of filming everything, you just kind of lose track of that, and I was focusing too much on, you know, oh, did I start the camera? Am I measuring temperatures? Did I say which one this is? You just kind of get a little bit more focused on that, and you know, that's my bad. So thankfully, this was a very cheap lesson to learn, and cheap lessons are always good in the shop. As for the results, I found it very interesting that the DeWalt Cobalt bit, that is difficult to say, just really didn't perform all that well. It got very, very hot. I mean, that thing was like smoking when I took it off. It didn't really perform that well. It cracked under pressure, literally. And it, performed a little bit better than the Harbor Freight, but the mystery ones, I think, did better. The YG and the Drill America did really well. They're very similar, and that was actually good for me to see that they performed similarly, because the YG ones are the one I always go to in the shop, so I'm pretty happy with the Drill America. One interesting thing about this last test, in the first test I didn't really talk about temperature that much because they were all pretty much the same and it was irrelevant. But in this test it was interesting to see that the cheaper drill bits definitely heated up more, and that is a good sign of a cheap drill bit versus an expensive drill bit. An expensive drill bit should transfer that heat into the chips and out into the workpiece, whereas a cheaper drill bit is going to heat up itself because it's not doing as effective cutting. So I think that was kind of interesting to see that the mystery drill bits, the DeWalt and the Harbor Freight, all got a lot hotter than the YG or the Drill America. So yeah, pretty interesting results. So hopefully you got something out of watching this video. If anything, the superiority of watching a YouTuber do something stupid and then get hurt. Don't worry, I love those videos too. It's okay. As far as the drills go, I really like the Drill Americas. They remind me very much of the YG ones, and I think the tests kind of confirm that. I used to buy the Home Depot and Lowe's garbage or products that they carry, and they're just very different. They don't sell good cutting tools. They do have some nice products, but generally speaking, I just don't think you're going to get a good drill bit set from Home Depot or Lowe's or anything like that. So stepping up to more of like a machinist grade drill bit like the YG1 or the Drill America, it really is a nice improvement. The other ones I feel like are just made for, cutting wood. It's like, oh, you can drill through, oak. Woo. And the occasional drilling into aluminum. But once you start doing steels and stuff like that, having a nice cutting tool is really nice to have around the shop. So my 2 cents. And this is coming. Down below in the description, I have links to Amazon, their affiliate links, so I do get a kickback for making any purchases. That's why I'm making these videos, guys. Check down below. They have links to YG1 and the Drill Americas in all the different sets. So check that out. You don't have to click on them. You don't have to buy from me. I'm just showing you what I like and what I use. So as always, thanks for watching. See you in my next video. Bye.